We usually think of genius as this incredible gift, right? Something that only a few special people get. But what if it's something weirder? What if it's not a gift at all, but some kind of strange side effect of an imbalance in the brain? In this explainer, we're going to unravel a historical puzzle that really challenges everything we think we know about genius and disability. And look, this isn't just some philosophical question. It's a real puzzle that completely stumped scientists over a century ago, all because of a case that just defied everything they thought they knew. It's a story that really makes you ask, what does it even mean to be normal, and what does it mean to be brilliant? All right, I want you to picture this. It's 1915. There is a small hill overlooking a railway, and every single day, a young boy sits there, just waiting. And as a train comes thundering past at 30 miles an hour, he does something that seems, well, almost impossible. In a flash, he could memorize and add up the numbers on every single speeding train car. I mean, just think about that. Yet this same exact boy couldn't feed himself. He couldn't even recognize familiar faces. He was a living paradox, a mind with this unimaginable talent trapped inside a body that struggled with the absolute simplest of tasks. So you can imagine this kind of walking contradiction drove 19th century scientists absolutely bonkers. They couldn't explain it, they couldn't understand it, so they did what people often do when they're faced with something they can't figure out. They gave it a name. They created a label to try and stick it in a box. And the term they came up with, well, it's pretty shocking to us now. Idiot savant. But back then, it perfectly captured the jarring contrast they were seeing, a mind that seemed both broken and brilliant all at the same time. It's like one part of the brain got completely supercharged, while another part was just left in the dark. But here's the thing. This label wasn't just a medical diagnosis. Not even close. It was a social tool. It was society's way of drawing a line in the sand, a boundary to define who was considered normal and who wasn't. See, by creating this box for the abnormal, it was like society could hold up a mirror and go, okay, that is what we are not. It propped up their ideal of the modern, rational person, someone intelligent, respectable, someone who deserves to be in charge. The label was really a tool for social order, a way of keeping everyone in their place. But, of course, not everyone was happy to just label these people and move on. In fact, this whole idiot savant phenomenon kicked off a huge debate between two top doctors who had completely opposite ideas about what was going on. So on one side, you had this French physician, Edouard Seguin. He basically saw this talent as a sign of social decay, calling it a useless protrusion and a sign that the upper classes were rotting from within. But on the other side, you had the British doctor, John Langdon Down, who saw a glimmer of incredible potential that was just waiting to be nurtured. And for Down, this belief in untapped potential wasn't just some abstract theory. No, he saw it with his own eyes in a man named James Henry Pullen. Pullen was sent to the Earlswood Asylum when he was just 15. He was severely deaf, had learning disabilities, and could barely speak a full sentence. But he had this incredible gift. And Pullen's story is just, wow, it's the perfect proof of Down's whole point. Tucked away in the asylum's workshop, he became a master craftsman. His model ships were so intricate, some had over 5,000 tiny parts he carved himself, that they won awards and were even gifted to royalty. He proved that profound talent could absolutely flourish, even in the most unlikely of places. Pullen's amazing story was just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle that was consuming the late 19th century. What is genius anyway? Is it a gift from God? Is it a sign of madness? Or is it something else entirely? And this slide just perfectly captures the wild mix of ideas that was swirling around. You had Francis Galton, who was convinced genius was in the blood, passed down through elite families like a fancy heirloom. Then there was Cesar Lombroso, who thought genius was like a beautiful pearl created by a disease, a brilliant symptom of a broken system. And finally, you had Havelock Ellis, who argued that genius was this magnificent imbalance, like one ability grew so huge that it just starved all the others. But just when they thought they were getting a handle on it all, along came one person who was about to blow every single one of their theories clean out of the water. The pianist, Thomas Blind Tom Wiggins. I mean, just look at this. Blind Tom's very existence was a direct challenge to the entire 19th century worldview. He was Black. He was born into slavery. He was blind. He had developmental disabilities. And he was a musical genius who toured the country. He was a walking contradiction that broke every single rule in their book. The reaction was just total confusion. They couldn't explain him with science, so people got creative. Mark Twain wrote that Tom must be some kind of vessel for a spirit from another world, an archangel trapped in what he called a coarse body. Others just saw him as a kind of human phonograph, a machine that could perfectly copy any sound it heard. It was a way to make him safe, to put him back in a box they could understand. By saying his genius wasn't real intelligence, but just a primitive animal-like instinct, something they claimed was natural for his race, society could avoid dealing with the terrifying fact that he completely shattered their neat little racial and intellectual hierarchies. So that's the 19th century, a pretty messy and complicated picture. How on earth did we get from there, from all those loaded, problematic labels, to where we are today with our understanding of neurodiversity? Well, it's been a long and winding road. This timeline really lays out the journey. It's this slow, 150-year crawl from one way of thinking to the next. We went from seeing people as medical defects to creating the whole category of autism, to the pop culture explosion after Rain Man, which, for better or worse, introduced savant syndrome to the whole world. And finally, that's brought us to the modern idea of neurodiversity, this understanding that these are just natural variations in the human brain, not flaws that need to be fixed. But, and this is a really important but, even this new way of thinking has its own traps. Our fascination with savants, especially in the media, has created a totally new stereotype, the super crip. It's this idea that a disabled person's value is somehow tied to them having an extraordinary, almost magical skill. And while that might sound positive, it can be just as damaging because it completely erases the reality for the vast majority of disabled people who don't fit that narrow mold. And so that leaves us right here with this one big lingering question. We've gone from idiot savant to neurodiverse. We've gone from seeing people as medical defects to celebrating their unique gifts. But have we really stopped seeing them as puzzles to be solved or as talents to be used for our own entertainment and inspiration? It's a question that challenges us to look beyond all the labels, beyond the stereotypes, and to finally just see the person first,